jai, Jagannath Puri ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Jamuna Mai ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Tulsi Maharani ki jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 61, texts 7 through 12. The title of the chapter is Lord Balaram Slays Rukmi. The beginning of the chapter, Sukadeva Goswami gives a slight genealogical chart of Krishna's sons. He only gives the names of the sons of the first 8 queens, otherwise we would have to hear the names of 16,108 times 10, which would really make a very voluminous volume. So he explains that he's only going to give the 8 principal queens. kṛṣṇa-strīṇāṁ puroditāḥ aṣṭau mahiṣyas tat-putrān pradyumnādīn gṛṇāmi tāsāṁ daśa-putrāṇāṁ kṛṣṇa-strīṇāṁ puroditāḥ aṣṭau mahiṣyas tat-putrān pradyumnādīn gṛṇāmi tāsāṁ daśa-putrāṇāṁ kṛṣṇa-strīṇāṁ puroditāḥ aṣṭau mahiṣyas tat-putrān pradyumnādīn gṛṇāmi
tāsāṁ daśa-putrāṇāṁ kṛṣṇa-strīṇāṁ puroditāḥ aṣṭau mahiṣyas tat-putrān pradyumnādīn gṛṇāmi
tāsāṁ, among those, yaha, who, daśa, having 10, putrāṇāṁ, sons, kṛṣṇa-strīṇāṁ, wives of Lord Krishna, purā, previously, uditāḥ, mentioned, aṣṭau, 8, mahiṣyas, chief queens, tat, there, putrān, sons, pradyumna-ādīn, headed by pradyumna, gṛṇāmi, I shall recite, te, for you. Translation. Among Lord Krishna's wives, each of whom had 10 sons, I previously mentioned 8 principal queens. I shall now recite for you the names of those 8 queens' sons, headed by pradyumna. We can repeat together. Among Lord Krishna's wives, each of whom had 10 sons, I previously mentioned 8 principal queens. I shall now recite for you the names of those 8 queens' sons, headed by pradyumna. Okay, so the next 5 slokas, I'll just read the translations because it's names of the sons. So it's simply a repetition both in the slokas and in the synonyms. Translation, this is 8 and 9. The first son of Queen Rukmini was Pradyumna, and also born of her were Charudeshna, Sudeshna, and the powerful Charudeha, along with Sucharu, Charugupta, Bhadracharu, Charuchandra, Vicharu, and Charu, the 10th. None of these sons of Lord Hari were less than his father. Text 10 through 12. The 10 sons of Satyabhama were Bhanu, Subhanu, Svarbhanu, Parabhanu, Bhanuman, Chandrabhanu, Brihadbhanu, Atibhanu, the 8th, Shri Bhanu, and Pratibhanu. Samba, Sumitra, Purujit, Shatajit, Sahasrajit, Vijay, Chitraketu, Vasuman, Dravida, and Kratu were the sons of Jambavati. These 10, headed by Samba, were their father's favorites. Purport. Srila Jiva Goswami translates the compound Pitri Samataha in this verse as highly regarded by their father. The word also indicates that these sons, like the others already mentioned, were regarded as being just like their glorious father, Lord Krishna. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svabdante Kam Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavari Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So now we're deep into the Dwarka Leela, and Sukadeva Goswami is describing to Parikshit Maharaj the different family members of his dynasty. Parikshit Maharaj was the grandson of Arjun, who was the contemporary, of course, of Krishna. Parikshit Maharaj only got to see Krishna once, and that was when Krishna entered into the womb of his mother to protect Parikshit when he was being attacked by the Brahmastra of Ashwatthama. So his whole life, therefore his name being Parikshit, he was always searching, examining, trying to understand his grandfather, Krishna, and looking for him. So now in these last 7 days of his life, he finally has the opportunity. He's given up all of his family responsibilities, managerial responsibilities, and for 7 days, no eating, no drinking. He's just immersed in the nectarian flow of Lord Krishna's pastimes. Now Sukadeva Goswami, understanding that Parikshit Maharaj, being the heir and the monarch now of the Yadu dynasty, the emperor of the entire world, he would be particularly interested in all of these details about his family members. So after describing how Krishna married 16,108 wives, Sukadeva Goswami will now go into further detail about his other family members, which are his cousins, and they are the sons of Lord Kṛṣṇa. So we know that Krishna first married Rukmini, and we heard that when Rukmini had her first son, Pradyumna, he was in the nursing home, the nursery where the babies sleep, and Sambara, who had heard that this child, Pradyumna, would be the cause of his death, he took on a disguise, entered the maternity room, and stole the baby, threw the baby into the ocean. Baby was swallowed. A fisherman caught the baby, sold that fish to Sambara's kitchen. Cutting open the fish, they found Pradyumna. Pradyumna was put in the hands of Mayavati. Now, Mayavati was there because of a boon that Sambara had received from Lord Shiva, that she could be in his household, though he never approached her. So she was working in the kitchen. So Pradyumna, he was the head of all of the 16,108 times 10 sons of Krishna. So therefore, a lot of description is given of Pradyumna's relationship with Krishna and his love for Krishna, his attitude of service, because all of the sons had a very special relationship with Krishna, which is called Gaurava Priti Rasa. Gaurav means reverence. Particularly, Gaurav comes from the word guru. Just as we revere our guru, we see him as an ocean of mercy, we see him as our protector, we always offer our respects to him with our heads down. We're ready to do anything for our guru. If he tells us to drink poison, we'll take it as nectar. If he tells us not to drink nectar, we'll take it as poison. So this is the type of love that the sons had for their father Krishna. They saw him as the greatest guru, as the greatest father, as the most famous, as the strongest. All of the greatest qualities they saw in their father, and they emulated him. There's a saying that as the seed, so the sprout. So Sukadeva Goswami says here, samataha, that these children of Krishna had the same qualities as their glorious father. And particularly Pradyumna, because in this first sloka, 7, it's explained that the second sloka, number 8, Krishna is called Hari, and Hari means one who attracts. And all of these sons of Rukmini, except for Pradyumna, their names had a particular word, charu. Charu means beautiful, effulgent, very attractive. So it's a synonym to the word Hari, one who attracts. So all of Rukmini's sons had this word charu in it. Pradyumna means one who is very glorious, one who gives great effulgence and fame. Now Pradyumna, he felt himself very unfortunate because he did not have the opportunity to get the parental affection of his father as he grew up as a child. And therefore, when finally, after he had killed Sambara and was coming to Dwarka for the first time to meet his mother and father, he was lamenting to his wife Mayavati, Rati, that, oh, when will I see my wonderful father, blue like a monsoon cloud, blowing on his Panchajanya conch, and I'll be able to offer my respects at his lotus feet. So when finally Pradyumna was able to meet his father, and he was so beautiful, just like Krishna, that even the wives and the intimate maidservants of Krishna, even the mothers, mistook him to be Krishna. That's how similar he was in qualities. So Pradyumna, now having returned, he interacted with his other brothers who had gotten that filial love that Krishna gave to the other sons. Now, the sons of Jambavati, there's an order here. First, Rukmini's sons are given. Rukmini was the first wife. Now, in the past times, although Satyabhama was offered to Krishna to be his wife, because Pradyumna had taken the jewel and was killed, and then Krishna went to find the jewel. In the interim, he next married Jambavati. So she was the second wife. But Satyabhama is given preference because of her intense love for Krishna. And therefore, her sons are mentioned next, because they were also older than Jambavati's sons. And her sons, they all have the name Bhanu. Bhanu means the sun, very brilliant, effulgent. And we can remember, of course, there are different explanations in the Puranas, but we can take the explanation given by Rupa Goswami that when Radharani and Vishaka held hands together and entered into the Jamuna River and were transferred to the sun planet, because Vishaka was the daughter of the sun god, and Radharani had worshipped the sun god throughout her whole life. So after being transferred to the sun planet, the sun god arranged that his daughter, Kalindi, would perform austerities in the Jamuna River and later be married to Krishna, which is her desire. And Radharani, she would take birth from the father being Satrajit, who was a very great devotee, who had a very friendly relationship with the sun god. So therefore, Satyabhama is taken to be Srimati Radharani in the Dwarka Leela. So Satyabhama's sons, because everything about Satyabhama was related to the sun god, her sons' names have Bhanu, Subhanu, Svarbhanu, all names with Bhanu. So the sons next are Jambavati's sons. And these are given a very special preference because here it says, Pitri Samataha, as highly regarded by their father. Now these sons, they got to grow up with the full affection of Krishna throughout their childhood and babyhood. So even when they were crawling, and anyone who's had a child knows that crawling means they get dirty, they get dust all over, they can't distinguish which way to go, which way not to go. So Samba, particularly the eldest, Samba would be crawling and his body would be all dusty, and Krishna, out of affection for him, would pick him up and get the dust off of his body and put him on his lap. And all of the sons would be caressed and loved by Krishna very affectionately. In fact, when Krishna would go away, the sons, they would miss their father so much that although, because being kshatriyas, they're being trained as kshatriyas, they had to practice their weaponry and they had to do their sports. So they said amongst themselves that, I don't even like to do my weapon practice anymore, and I don't even care about playing ball anymore, although I love to do that, because if Father's not here, if Krishna's not here, Dwarka just feels like a prison for us. So this mood of affection, this Gaurava Priti Rasa, was present in all of the thousands and thousands of sons of Krishna. They worshipped him. And Krishna, we have two examples in the Leela that Sukadeva Goswami is giving us in the Bhagavatam. One was when Krishna goes to the Sudharma assembly every day. When the sons grew older, they would also follow behind him, and they would watch how he interacted in the assembly hall with the elder Vrishnis, with his contemporaries. And they noticed that Krishna, when he was in the assembly, he would very respectfully and attentively listen to the elder Vrishnis. So they learned to do that. And also when there was a humorous topic, he would just smile very gently. And when there was something confidential being spoken, the sons wouldn't try to hear it. They knew that that was the father's business. And they would never try to understand the confidential pastimes of their father. They stayed away from all that. Because this Gaurava Priti Rasa, it's in the reverential servant department. So they never would hear about the conjugal pastimes of their father. It just would not be part of what they were interested in hearing. They wanted to hear of the father's chivalrous nature, things like that. And then the other example is when the boys were out playing one day in the forest, a jungle near to Dwarka, and they came across, they got thirsty during their playing. They went to see if there was water in a well. They found Nriga. They tried their best to pick up this huge lizard, and they couldn't. Krishna came and lifted him. And when King Nriga told his story about how he was condemned to be a lizard, and they heard that just by accident he had taken the property of one Brahmin and given it to another Brahmin, so Krishna gave a very strong lesson to his sons at that time, not just for his sons, but for all of us who were hearing the Bhagavatam, that one should be very careful to never touch the property of a Brahmin. See what happened to the great son of Ikshvaku, King Nriga. Although he was going to unlimitedly live in heaven, he had to take birth first as a lizard. Then another example that Krishna gave amongst his sons was Samba. See, Samba's Samba's name is two words, Sa Amba. Amba means mother. And he was he was the pet son of his mother, Jambavati. Now there's a reason for that also. There's a Purana, a Vaishnava Purana, Brahma Vaivarta Purana, that describes the pastimes of Krishna, just parallel to what we're reading in Bhagavatam. And in some places it goes into more depth. For instance, we know that Mother Earth, she was very much afflicted by the demons. She went in the form of a cow and prayed to Brahma for protection. Brahma collected the demigods, they went to Vishnu. In the Brahma Vaivarta Purana it's described that Vishnu, he said, now go to Goloka and speak to my master and ask him to come. So when the demigods went to Goloka Vrindavan, the forest of Vrindavan, the topmost of all the forests, and were able to meet Sri Krishna, he instructed them all, the demigods, that yes, I know why you have come. I'm going to come and relieve Mother Earth, and I want all of you to come along with me to assist me as warrior princes, because we have a big job to do on Mother Earth to rid all of the demons. So he instructed the demigods that in your Angsa form, you all take birth in the Yadu dynasty. So most of the sons of Krishna were the demigods who took birth on the instruction of Krishna to assist him in the killing of the demons. For instance, we have when Pradyumna had to assist his father fighting with Banasura, when Krishna was still in Indraprastha and Salva came to attack Dwarka, a terrible attack. Dwarka was being completely destroyed, and Pradyumna had to lead the army. And Pradyumna, taking after his father, he was a very powerful commander-in-chief, but Salva struck him so hard that he fell unconscious. And his charioteer, because the charioteer and the warrior, they always have to cooperate together, the charioteer quickly took him off of the battlefield, and he didn't gain consciousness for 2 hours. And when he finally came to consciousness and saw that he had been taken from the battlefield, he started to condemn his charioteer, that what will my father say, what will my uncle say? All of my sister-in-laws will tell me that I'm a eunuch. We didn't know that you were such a coward. And he was feeling terrible that he was taken from the battlefield. So all of this chivalrous spirit is coming by the perfect example of their father. They learned from him how to be a great warrior. So that lesson is there. And then we have Samba, because he was being the favorite of his mother, and his father gave him so much love and caressing and attention. So he, for instance, when he would sit and eat with his father, the other sons, they would keep their heads down, they wouldn't talk, they wouldn't even cough in front of their father. But Samba had his head up, and he would eat the bedo remnants of his father. He had a different type of relationship with his father. And therefore, he liked to play tricks. And one time, the sages, Narada Muni, Vishwamrita, and others, they went to a place called Pitrinaka. And they were doing their sacrifices there. And Samba got this idea that they would play a trick on the sages. He dressed up as a pregnant young girl. And the boys took him to the sages and said, please tell us what this young maiden will have, a boy or a girl. And the sages, being Trikaligya, they knew what the boys were doing. They said, this young girl will give birth to a club that will be the destruction of your entire dynasty. And the boys became frightened. They realized they had been caught. They ran to Ugrasena. Ugrasena had the club broken, ground into powder, thrown into the ocean. Only one piece couldn't be ground. That was swallowed by a fish. The fish was caught by fishermen. The hunter, Jara, he made that piece into an arrowhead. And between that curse and the curse of Gandhari, now why did Krishna allow his whole family to get cursed, both by the Brahmin sages and by his own aunt, Gandhari? There's a reason for that. It's explained that you can get out, if you've ever gotten a kanta in your foot, a thorn, and you're there in the middle of the parikrama, you don't have tweezers, you don't have any instruments, you take another thorn, and with that you get the thorn out. So what Krishna did was, he took out one thorn with another thorn, that he had come to decimate the demons. And the way he did that was with his family members. But his family members, because they were all perfectly aware in Dwarka of Krishna's majesty, they knew he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They identified themselves as his intimate relatives, and they were puffed up. The difference between a demon and a devotee is demons are puffed up and devotees are humble. So Krishna, when he finally killed the maximum number of demons who he had come to kill after the battle of Kurukshetra, and then the extra ones after that, Dantavakra and so forth, and he wanted to get back home, but he realized that he has one more job to do, because his family members, they had become very puffed up, and they would cause another form of disturbance on the planet Earth. So with these two curses, rather than trying to counter them, which Krishna could have easily done, he allowed the two curses to take effect. That by that musul, the entire dynasty would be destroyed, which it was at Prabhas Kshetra, and by the curse of Gandhari. That Gandhari, she said, I know who you are. I know you're the Supreme Lord. Not only that, you're our intimate family member. You could have stopped this fratricidal war. Instead, you killed all of my sons. And the pain that I'm experiencing, I curse you that all of your family members will also die in the same way. And Krishna accepted that. Why? Because he had to get rid of his family members. He wanted to send them all back to their destinations. They had come in angsas from the heavenly planets. He had brought all of his, not all, there are unlimited number of gopas and gopis, his 10 million favorites he had brought for his Braja Leela. And it was time for Krishna, he had done his mission, it was time to go home, and this was the way he was going to send all of his family members, all of these beloved sons of his, back to their destinations in the heavenly planets. Now, when Brahma and the demigods went to see Krishna in Goloka, he was sitting with Srimati Radharani, Krishna said, I want you to all take birth now in the Yadu dynasty. I want you to assist me. So Brahma was a little confused. He said, can you tell us what our roles will be? What should we do? And then Krishna, just as when you set up a drama, we all have our list of characters. In the beginning of all dramas, it's the list of characters, this. So Krishna told Brahma and the other demigods present there that you will be this person, you will be, Kamadev will be my son Pradyumna, and Chandra's son will be Abhimanyu. He started to list who all the demigods would be. Dharmaraj, he would be, Angsa would be Yudhisthira, Dharmaraj would come himself as Vidura, and all of the major demigods, he was giving a list. Brahma would be Aniruddha, and Usha would be Saraswati. So beforehand, everyone knew who they were, what roles they were going to play before the big drama started. So one of the roles to be played was Jambavati. Now we remember that in Ram Leela, the demigods and the great devotees of the Lord also wanted to take part in his Leela. So they appeared as the Vanaras and different assistants of Lord Ramachandra. So one of these devotees was Himavan, the king of the Himalayan mountains. He wanted to assist Lord Ram as well. And he appeared as Jambavan. And Rama blessed him at that time that Chiranjiva, you will have such a long life for all of the service you've done to me. He was very powerful and very handsome. He didn't look like a bear, Prabhupada says. He was a very powerful and handsome king. So he lived, Chiranjiv, he lived up until the time when Krishna appeared. And his daughter was Jambavati. So Himavan, he is the father of Parvati. So Jambavati, when Krishna was giving the list of characters, Parvati was also there with her husband, Shiva. And Krishna told her that you take birth as the daughter of Jambavan, I will marry you, and your son Kartikeya will be Pradyumna. So all of these lists of characters was set up by Krishna beforehand. Everyone then in their ankhs, they went and took birth as the sons of Krishna, as the wives of Krishna, the different family members in that way. So this Leela is actually a beautiful drama. And it's a temporary drama. It's the Prakat Leela. Because the uppercut Leela going on in Vaikuntha and Goloka Vrindavan, that goes on eternally. And that's what we're aiming for, to enter into those pastimes. But just as the reason that these temporary pastimes, the Prakat Leela, are called eternal is because in the unlimited number of universes, Krishna appears in each universe and manifests these pastimes. And just as the sun starts at 6 o'clock in the morning, then goes to 7, 8, 9, then noon, and then goes to evening time. So these pastimes are starting in one universe, going to another universe, perpetually. At this moment in time, on one universe, Krishna is dancing on Kaliya's head. In another universe, he's marrying all the princesses. All these pastimes are going on eternally. They're Nitya Leela within the universes. And that's why when we aspire to go back to Godhead, and Prabhupada said we should aspire to go back to Godhead, although we're here now assisting him in his preaching mission, he wants us to go back to Godhead. He signed the contract for us that, yes, I'll take you back to Godhead. You chant minimum 16 rounds a day. You follow the 4 regulative principles. If you don't make it this lifetime, your guru will come back, but don't make me come back. So the goal is to re-enter our eternal relationship with Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan. But before we go there, we need further training. And we will go to one of the universes where Krishna is having these pastimes, so we can mingle with the eternal associates of the Lord and get further training to perfect our bhakti. So therefore, we hear these pastimes, and both of these pastimes are described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. The pastimes that Krishna manifests on this earthly planet, so that we can understand who these members of who we're going to be associating with. For instance, in Chaitanya Leela, these same personalities, they took part in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. Pradyumna took birth as Raghunandan Thakur, and Lakshmi Ji, she took birth as Lakshmi Priya. Vallabhacharya was Bhishmaka. All of these same personalities, they want to go wherever Krishna goes. They don't want to be separated from him when he's performing his pastimes here to uplift the fallen souls. So they travel with him wherever he goes. And therefore, we should understand the eternal nature of these pastimes and the greatness of these devotees who, due to tremendous amounts of austerity and devotional service, they have the opportunity to be the sons of Krishna, have the same qualities of Krishna, and assist Krishna in his pastimes. So we're hearing about all the different relationships that the devotees might have with Krishna. In this particular, these prelude, because the chapter is called Lord Balaram Slays Rukmi, something's going to happen after these lists. We're going to hear a very special pastime at the wedding of the, Aniruddha and Rukmi's daughter. Until that time, we'll be hearing for the next few days the lists of the sons of Krishna's wives. And that's to help us appreciate the greatness of these sons, how they were able to assist Krishna in his pastimes, how they were willing to give up their positions as demigods, as great controllers, come to earth along with their beloved Krishna, and assist him in killing the demons, and how by the will of Krishna, when he wanted to wind up all of his pastimes, it was a terrible scene. Prabhupada says that 560 million warriors died at Prabhakshetra. And it was such a treacherous fight because of the intoxicating nature of that liquor that they had drunk. Prabhupada also explains that as demigods, they were accustomed to drinking somaras. They would get intoxicated, but somaras does not create the same, it creates an intoxication in the mode of goodness, just like when we eat too many gulab jamans. So the demigods, in the form of Krishna's family members, they were accustomed to getting intoxicated, but this particular liquor made them so delirious, and they started to remember their inimical relationships during the battle of Kurukshetra, what this person did, what that person did, because they were the only ones who survived. All the other Kurus, they all died. And they started to pick up all those ground pieces of the mussel, grew into steel-like canes. First they used their weapons to kill each other, and it was brother against brother. It was sons against father. It was nephews against uncles. It was grandchildren against grandfathers. It was completely indiscriminate. They even went to attack Balaram and wanted to kill him. And Balaram went into the ocean. And then Krishna, even he picked up the canes and started to kill everyone. So Pradyumna and Shamba, they fought and killed each other. That's how desperate this fight was, fratricidal war. And they all died because it was Krishna's desire to send them all back to their abodes. So, in conclusion, hearing these names of the Supreme Lord's sons, and there's no way that we'll be able to hear all of them because it's 16,108 times 10, and then each of the 10 sons, they had another 10 sons. They all had names, and Sukadeva Goswami only had 7 days, so he's only giving the names of the principal 8 queens' sons. But we can study the activities of Krishna when he was in Dwarka, because he manifested the ideal grihastha life, having 10 sons, who can do that in this age? And be able to maintain them all? What to speak of having 16,108, just to take care of one wife, just to take care of 1 or 2 sons. But he was setting the example to prove his supremacy, because no one can do what Krishna does. But at least we can follow his example, as Krishna explains in the Bhagavad-Gita. So every morning he would wake up 3 hours before sunrise. Even before Brahma Muhurta he would wake up. And he would meditate. He would meditate on himself, just as we meditate on Krishna. And Prabhupada, he explains that taking this example of Krishna, it doesn't mean that we should meditate on ourselves. We should meditate on Krishna. And particularly, we should meditate on Radha Krishna. And the way to meditate on Radha Krishna is to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, which is the recommended meditation for this age of Kali. And then he would do his pujas, his sacrifices, honoring the elders, and go about his services during the day. He would expand himself in different Vaibhav expansions, so that in every single palace, there were over 900,000 palaces in Dwarka. In his 16,108 palaces with his wives, he would expand Vaibhav expansions, be with each and every wife. And then when it was time to go to service, to his office, and do his assembly work, all of those 16,108 forms would come out of the palaces and become one form for him to go to the Sudharma assembly hall. And the way he treated his elders, the way he gave charity to the Brahmins, the way he was able to help poor people, this is all examples for us, for those of us who are in Grihastha life. And Prabhupada also explains later, we'll read, how the Grihastha life is the knot that keeps us in the material world. So Sri Krishna, by his example, those of you who fortunately are not in Grihastha life, you'll have a much easier way of meditating on Krishna and not having to worry about family maintenance and children and all of the other responsibilities of Grihastha life. But for Grihasthas, which is the majority in this world, because people come for that type of pleasure, that's why they take birth again and again and again, chewing the chewed. So he is setting the example how to live an ideal Grihastha life, how to educate your children, how to pamper your children, how to love your children, just as he did with his children, and how to give them a good education according to what their dharma is, what their gunas and karma are. So as a grihastha, we can learn from Sri Krishna's example how we can become detached from our family life. We learned yesterday that despite all the attempts of Krishna's queens to attract him to their feminine beauty, he had no attraction towards them. He was performing his duty as a grihastha with them. And in the very first canto, when Krishna returns from Indraprastha, the queens who had been waiting for Krishna, for him to return, when he entered the palaces, they became very shy, and they embraced Krishna in their heart, then they embraced Krishna through their eyes, and then they didn't go and embrace Krishna directly. They sent their sons, because the son is considered to be a part of the mother, an extension of the mother. So the sons ran to Krishna, and he embraced them all, put them all on his lap. And in that way, Krishna showed us how to have an ideal family life, performing all of our responsibilities to our children, to our wives, to our husbands, and preparing this lifetime to become detached from this family life so that we can go back and enjoy our eternal relationship with Sri Krishna in the spiritual world. Are there any questions? Yes, Prabhu.
There's sadhana bhakti, the performance of duties and sacrifices, rules, regulations, rituals. Then there's a platform of raganuga bhakti, more spontaneous and not so necessarily rigidly following all the, rules and regulations. How do we know when and how we're pulling out of sadhana bhakti into the raganuga platform, and when should we, how should we cultivate our mind and such so that we can be more intimately involved with Krishna instead of just so regimentedly?
No, that's a misunderstanding. Yes. Raganuga bhakti means that you have followed sadhana bhakti so perfectly that it becomes an automatic way of life. You automatically get up and you love to go to Mangalarti. You love to sing and dance in front of, you love all these things, and that's the Raganuga. When all of this sadhana bhakti becomes automatically that you love to do it, and it increases your devotion more and more to Krishna. It's not that okay, now I don't have to go to, I'm on Raganuga bhakti, now I don't have to go to Mangalarti. Prabhupada didn't go to Mangalarti. No, it's nothing like that. No, we follow so perfectly that we don't even think about it. It's like, when you get up in the morning, I know because you come every day, you would never think of missing Mangalarti unless you were half dead, right?
That's right.
Exactly. You're on the Raganuga platform already. And we should all follow in that footsteps. That we wouldn't dream of missing Mangalarti. Because then we know our whole day would be inauspicious. That's Raganuga bhakti.
On another note, the Kurukshetra war killed so many soldiers, but if you read Krishna book, there were so many battles with the equal amounts being killed and numerous times. So was there that many demons at 5,000 years ago that you had like at least 10 battles of millions and millions of people being slaughtered? So what's going on here? You can clarify that.
That was mentioned that Ugrasen's personal attendants were like how many millions?
311 trillion, I think.
Yeah, like 11 trillion. So the numbers we'll never understand. But, and when you read about the description of Goloka Vrindavan, the immenseness of everything, the yojanas, millions and billions of yojanas big, we'll never understand it because we have the, again,
You mean me?
These questions come up quite. Don't try to understand it, just read it.
Teeny brain, teeny.
And one day you will understand when you get there.
Hi Krishna Mataji. So Mataji, we saying when we reading the Shastras, it's like I also read this Brahmavad-Prana you mentioning about the story of Jambati, and I also read this Lalita Madhav Grantha.
Yes.
So Srila Rupa Goswami also writing this story about the Jambavati.
Yes.
So he's saying this Lalita Sakhi.
Right.
And Brahmavad-Prana mentioning is Parvati Devi.
Yes.
So, which part we have to accept? Just like we accept our Acharya's mood or our Prana's mood.
Yes.
Sometimes, some devotees keep raising question, this Prana saying this and our Acharya saying this. So please correct Mataji this.
There are different opinions even in the spiritual world among spiritual authorities, and there are no discrepancies. You can see them as both. Even in the 500 years ago in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela, some personalities were 4 people in one, correct? Ramananda Roy? Now how are we going to understand that? We won't understand it. There was one wonderful devotee, her name was Ekayani. She was the former wife of Gopal Krishna Maharaj. She used to write and ask Prabhupada so many questions. And the first few letters he was answering, and finally, after some letters, Prabhupada wrote back to her, when you get to the spiritual world, you will understand everything.
Sadhu Sangha is very valuable, and we have today's Mother Daivi Shakti's birthday, so we want to wish her a happy birthday. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna.
1 year closer to Krishna. Thank you.
You want to take one more question?
Yeah, sure. You can distribute this to everybody. I can't. Oh, wow, this is beautiful. Oh, thank you. Look at this. I have a secret to tell you. This is exactly what I need, because they've ordered me to become the curator of the museum at the TOVP, and I'll be going to Mayapur soon. So this is exactly what I need to understand. You tell them. 10 days. So I'll read this. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. And you can distribute this to everybody, okay? Any more questions?
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Dandapanam Mataji. Like, yeah, it's yeah, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Like, I being a Grihastha, and what's the degree of detachment one should hold in the Grihastha life, and parallelly have the responsibility of the family also? Because it's quite confusing, because because having children and taking care of them and getting them married, these are all the responsibilities. Parallelly, detachment also should be there. So how do I maintain? I don't understand, like, what is the degree I should maintain? The confusion is there. Please help me out.
Well, number one should not become a father or a mother unless they can liberate their dependents. So if you have children?
Yes, two children. Yes.
2 children,
Yeah.
yes. So your responsibility, since you have children, your responsibility is to raise your children so that they can become liberated in this lifetime. That means that give them a good opportunity to take up spiritual life. And how you're going to do that, you can, by sadhu sangha, you can get ideas where you want to raise your children, what type of education. First of all, you have to want to go back to Godhead. You have, just like Krishna, you have to set a perfect example for your children, and then they will follow your example. Right?
One more question, can I, Mataji? Like Krishna had from 16,108 wives 10 sons.
Yes.
Even the grandsons were 10. Why that particular number 10? Like,
it could have been 100, but
yeah.
that's just, it's just what he chose to have. We're all the sons and daughters of Krishna, all the living entities. But from his wives, he had 10 in each.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Mataji, like Krishna played such an emotional role with his family and affectionate to his family, and easily detached in the end.
I couldn't understand you.
Krishna played such an emotional role and attached with family. And
emotional?
But like he was affectionate to his whole family.
Very affectionate to his children,
and
yes.
in the end he easily get detached with all these family matters.
How?
And easily get detached with all this.
Detached?
Detached with all
At
family.
the same time, yes. He was performing his...
So, but for normal living being, normal Grihastha people, because when he play all this Grihastha role, it is very difficult to detach. So can you guide like how he can be like detached in the end? But for
he loved his children.
Yes,
he loves all of his children. We're all his children also. And he wants the best for us, for everybody, not just the ones that were born from his wives. And when one performs their duty, it's done in a mood of detachment, that I'm doing this for the betterment of my dependent. All right, so that's a form of detachment, that just perform your duty. Krishna, when Narada Muni went to visit all the different palaces, he saw Krishna with his children playing. He also saw Krishna getting his daughters married. He saw Krishna getting his sons married. He saw Krishna welcoming his daughter-in-laws into the house. He was performing all of the duties required in Grihastha life out of love for everyone but still in a mood of detachment because he was doing it as his duty as a grihasta. There's a balance.
But for normal grastha people, like we are, it's very difficult to detach in the end. So how can we get detached from all these emotions and affection?
By making all of your family members into devotees as well. And then you're a spiritual family. And then together you'll be serving your guru together. And it becomes, there's no material affection anymore. It's on a spiritual level. You see your wife as a partner in spiritual life. You see your children as those, just like this Gaurava Priti. They should see you as a guru, and you should behave as a guru to your children. So then it's not a material attachment anymore. There's attachment even amongst the guru and the disciples. The guru cares very much for his disciples. Prabhupada would cry when the devotees would leave his association, because the guru loves his children, loves his disciples, just as the father loves his children, but it's for the purpose of sending them back to Godhead, so you can all eternally be serving Krishna together. You don't want to have to take birth again and go through the miseries of KG and Upar KG, and we don't need that. We want to go play with Krishna in the spiritual world with our family members. Why not?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Krishna Hare